This is everything I read in February, and it is only 3 books because I basically stopped reading in the middle of February because I had an author event to do, and the planning for that just took up my entire life, basically. So here is what I did read. So the first book that I finished in February, although I didn't read this first, but those are the books I'm going to talk about in a minute, Samantha Sotto Yambao's Water Moon. I loved this one. I don't know if it's my absolute favorite of what Samantha has written because I just have a lot of nostalgia and feeling towards one of her previous books in particular. But I did really, really enjoy this one. This asks a lot of questions about having choice or whether fate is better. And it looks into that question in detail. You know, we always think about like, could we know what's going to happen in the future maybe? Or how would our lives be if we knew what was going to happen? And Sam does a really good job of showing us why that idea that fate would be good is actually a really, really bad idea. The second book that I finished in February was Carmel Harrington's The Stolen Child. This is a really interesting thriller novel. She gives you some of the answers up front, like within the first couple of chapters, so that you're left thinking, well, what's she going to do? And let's just say it's really compelling. For some of the novel, kind of consistent with the idea of a literary fiction, I suppose you could say, there is a lot of focus on this character development. So it's not as pacey. And then it gets towards the final third, and I generally read no more than 50 pages an hour. I got through 100 pages in an hour. Actually, I think it was less than an hour with this book in the third third of this book, because it was just so pacey and I just wanted to know the answers. So I highly recommend this one as well. And I'm going to repeat myself and say I highly recommend this one as well. This was the last book I finished in February, and this is Kate Packman's You Can See the End of the World from Here. This is a literary fiction novel. It's very much circling around mental health. The main character has a lot of anxiety and she's really worried because her son, when he was younger, said that he was only going to live until he was 12, and he is just like a couple of weeks away from turning 12. So she's really in quite a state. And this is a first person narrative. So you are in her head the entire time. And she doesn't leave the house much because she's just so worried about what will happen to her son. And there is also a lot of allusion here to the bell jar, which I was really interested to discover was kind of definite towards the book. I'd kind of got an idea that it was like the bell jar just from reading it. And then there is a reference. So that is what I've read this month.